Reddit stock just dropped over 11% in a single day, and the reason behind this dramatic fall reveals something fascinating about how modern tech companies actually make their money. While major market indices like the S&P 500 and Nasdaq were climbing higher, Reddit shareholders watched their investments tumble as new data exposed a critical vulnerability in the social media platform's business model. This video is for educational and informational purposes only. It is not financial advice. What happened this week should serve as a wake-up call for anyone trying to understand how artificial intelligence is reshaping the digital landscape. The story begins with a company called PromptWatch, which tracks how AI systems like ChatGPT reference different websites in their responses. Their latest data showed something that sent shockwaves through Reddit's investor community. According to PromptWatch's analysis, ChatGPT cited Reddit content in just 2% of its answers on Tuesday. That might not sound like much until you realize this represents a massive 79% decline from August, when ChatGPT was referencing Reddit in nearly 10% of its responses. To put this in perspective, imagine if your primary source of customers suddenly reduced their engagement with your business by almost 80% in just 2 months. This dramatic shift highlights how precarious the modern internet economy has become. Reddit, despite being one of the most popular social media platforms in the world, finds itself dependent on external forces that are completely beyond its control. The company has built its growth strategy around attracting traffic from other platforms, particularly search engines and AI assistants, which then converts into advertising revenue. The relationship between Reddit and ChatGPT represents a fascinating case study in digital symbiosis. When ChatGPT references Reddit content, it often drives curious users to click through to the actual Reddit threads to read more context or join discussions. This traffic is valuable because it brings engaged users who are likely to spend time on the site, view advertisements, and potentially create accounts. But here's where the story gets even more interesting. While the ChatGPT citation drop is concerning, analysts point out that it pales in comparison to Reddit's reliance on Google search. Google remains the dominant driver of new traffic to Reddit, responsible for sending millions of users to the platform daily. This creates what experts are calling a single point of failure problem. Reddit stock trades at a price-to-earnings ratio above 100, which means investors are betting heavily on continued rapid growth. This valuation assumes that user traffic and engagement will keep expanding at impressive rates. When growth companies face headwinds, their stock prices often react more dramatically than established companies with lower valuations. The ChatGPT citation decline raises questions about the broader relationship between AI systems and content platforms. As artificial intelligence becomes more sophisticated, these systems might start providing more complete answers within their own interfaces, potentially reducing the need for users to visit source websites. This trend could affect not just Reddit, but many content-driven businesses across the internet. Industry observers are watching this situation closely because it demonstrates how algorithm changes can instantly impact company valuations. Google has historically held this power through its search algorithm updates, which can dramatically affect website traffic overnight. Now ChatGPT and other AI systems are emerging as new gatekeepers of digital traffic flow. The timing of this revelation is particularly noteworthy given the broader market context. While Reddit stock was plummeting, major market indices were posting modest gains, suggesting this was a company-specific issue rather than a general market downturn. This isolated decline often signals that investors are reacting to fundamental business concerns rather than broader economic sentiment. Reddit's position as the most referenced social media platform by ChatGPT provides some consolation, but the steep decline trend is what has analysts concerned. If this pattern continues, it could indicate a structural shift in how AI systems source and present information to users. The implications extend beyond just Reddit to the entire ecosystem of content creators and publishers who rely on AI-driven traffic. Market watchers are also considering the competitive landscape. Other social media platforms and content sites are vying for AI citations and traffic referrals. If ChatGPT and similar systems start favoring different sources or change their referencing patterns, it could create winners and losers across the digital content space. The situation illustrates a fundamental challenge facing modern internet companies: building sustainable business models in an environment where key traffic drivers are controlled by third parties. Unlike traditional businesses that might own their distribution channels, digital platforms often depend on the goodwill and algorithms of other companies. This dependency creates what economists call concentration risk. When a significant portion of your business relies on a single source or a small number of sources, any changes in those relationships can have outsized impacts on performance. Reddit's stock reaction demonstrates how quickly markets can reprice companies when these risks materialize. Looking ahead, investors are watching whether this citation decline represents a temporary algorithmic adjustment or signals a more permanent shift in how AI systems operate. ChatGPT and other AI models are constantly evolving, updating their training data and changing how they process and present information. The broader implications for the tech sector are significant. As AI becomes more prevalent in how people consume information, the relationship between AI systems and content platforms will likely become increasingly important for business valuations. Companies that can secure favorable positioning in AI citations and referrals may gain competitive advantages. This episode also highlights the importance of diversification in digital business models. Companies that rely too heavily on any single traffic source, whether it's Google Search, social media platforms, or AI systems, face inherent vulnerability to sudden changes beyond their control. The Reddit situation serves as a compelling example of how quickly the digital landscape can shift and how these changes immediately translate into market valuations. As artificial intelligence continues reshaping how information flows across the internet, similar scenarios are likely to play out across the technology sector, making this case study essential viewing for understanding modern digital business risks. Have you ever wondered what happens when a tech giant's biggest strength suddenly becomes its greatest weakness? Reddit just found out the hard way. While the rest of the market was celebrating, Reddit's stock took a nosedive, plummeting over 11% in a single day. The culprit wasn't a bad earnings report or a huge scandal. It was something much more fundamental, something lurking in the shadows of the internet, and its name is AI. Stick around, because this story isn't just about Reddit, it's a warning shot for the entire internet as we know it. So, what exactly went wrong? To understand this, we need to talk about a fundamental shift happening right now. For years, Reddit has been the internet's unfiltered, chaotic, and incredibly human message board. If you had a niche question, a weird hobby, or just wanted an honest product review, you didn't just Google it, you Googled it and added the word Reddit at the end. We all did it. This made Reddit an invaluable source of real human conversations, a goldmine of data in an increasingly artificial digital world. And the tech giants noticed. Specifically, AI companies like OpenAI, the creators of ChatGPT, noticed. When these large language models were being trained, they scraped the internet for high-quality, conversational data. And where did they find the motherlode? You guessed it, Reddit. For a long time, Reddit was one of the most cited sources for AI-generated answers. It was a symbiotic relationship, even if Reddit wasn't getting paid for it initially. AI models got the human data they desperately needed, and in return, they sent a fire hose of traffic back to Reddit by citing it as a source. This was a huge driver of Reddit's growth and a key part of the story they told investors during their IPO. They were not just a social media site, they were an essential data provider for the AI revolution. This led to a landmark deal earlier this year. Reddit signed a $60 million a year licensing agreement with Google. The deal was simple: Google gets to use Reddit's vast library of content to train its AI models, like Gemini. On the surface, this looked like a genius move. Reddit was finally monetizing its most valuable asset, its data. The market loved it. The stock soared. It seemed like Reddit had perfectly positioned itself for the new AI-powered era of the internet. They were selling the shovels in the gold rush. What could possibly go wrong? Well, here's the twist. The very thing that made Reddit so valuable, its human-generated content, is now being used to create AI that no longer needs to send users back to Reddit. Think about it. Why would a user click a link to a Reddit thread if the AI has already scraped that thread, summarized the top comments, and presented a neat, tidy answer right there in the chat window? They wouldn't. And the data is starting to prove it. Recent analytics have shown a terrifying trend for Reddit. The number of times ChatGPT cites Reddit as a source has fallen off a cliff. It went from being a top source, accounting for nearly 10% of all citations, to a measly 2%. That is a catastrophic drop. Every one of those lost citations represents a user who isn't clicking through, an ad that isn't being seen, and potential revenue that is vanishing into thin air. Reddit sold its data to help build a machine that is now making the original source less and less relevant. They helped create their own perfect competitor. This exposes the fundamental flaw in Reddit's business model, an extreme over-reliance on traffic sources it cannot control. For years, the platform has been massively dependent on Google search. That's why we all append Reddit to our searches. We're using Google to navigate to Reddit. Now, they've added another layer of dependency, AI referrals. But both of these traffic streams are controlled by the same company, Google, which now has a vested interest in keeping users within its own ecosystem. Google's new AI overviews, which give you an AI-generated answer at the top of the search results, are a perfect example. They are designed to answer your question without you ever having to click a link, especially a link that leads to a site like Reddit. This isn't just a hypothetical problem. It's happening right now, and it's hitting Reddit's bottom line. The 11% stock crash wasn't just a random market fluctuation. It was Wall Street waking up to this new reality. Investors are looking at Reddit's sky-high valuation, at one point trading at over 100 times its earnings, and realizing there is absolutely no room for error. A price like that is banking on explosive, uninterrupted growth. But what we're seeing is the exact opposite. A major growth engine is sputtering out. The AI tailwind that investors were so excited about is turning into a headwind, and it's happening much faster than anyone anticipated. The big question now is, what can Reddit do? Can they pivot? It's tough. Their core product is the user-generated content, the forums, the subreddits. They can't just change that overnight. They could try to build their own on-platform search and discovery tools to keep users from ever leaving, but that's a massive undertaking to compete with the likes of Google. They could try to find new ways to monetize their existing user base, but that often means more intrusive ads or controversial premium features, which can alienate the very community that makes the site special. The path forward is incredibly unclear. They are caught between a rock and a hard place. They need the traffic from Google and AI, but that very traffic is now being siphoned off by the platforms providing it. This story is so much bigger than just one company's stock price. It's a case study in the creative destruction that AI is bringing to the digital landscape. For every new AI tool that makes our lives easier, there's an old business model being rendered obsolete. We're seeing a massive rerouting of internet traffic. The old rules of SEO and referral links are being rewritten in real time. Platforms that rely on being a destination that users click through to are in serious trouble. Meanwhile, the big AI players, Google, OpenAI, Microsoft, are consolidating their power, becoming the new gatekeepers of information. This creates a clear divide. There will be winners and losers. The winners will be the platforms that own the AI models and control the user interface. They capture the user's attention first and decide what information to show and where, if anywhere, to send them next. The losers will be the content providers who feed these models but lose the direct relationship with the audience. Reddit is just the first high-profile example, but they won't be the last. News organizations, blogs, forums, and any site that relies on search traffic is now facing this same existential threat. The value is shifting from the content itself to the AI that summarizes and presents it. So, as we watch the Reddit saga unfold, remember that we're seeing more than just a stock chart. We're witnessing a fundamental power shift on the internet. The ground is moving beneath our feet, and the platforms that can't adapt will be left behind. It's a stark reminder that in the age of AI, being the source of the data is no longer a guarantee of success. In fact, it might just be the thing that makes you obsolete. Thank you so much for watching. This is a complex and evolving topic, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Reddit can bounce back, or is this the beginning of the end for platforms of its kind? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this analysis interesting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into the business of tech. See you in the next one.